Next up, I would like to introduce our next speaker. We have Carolin Berger together with Mark de Lange from Ace Tate. I think it's safe to say that Ace Tate took the eyewear game to the next level, really. And together with Carolin from Contentful, they will explain to you the importance of a good CMS on your tech stack. So please give them a warm applause, Mark and Carolin.
Hi, Carolin.
Hey,
nice to meet you in real life.
Yes, first time we meet in real life. I'm a bit starstruck.
Oh, so am I.
What rank did you finish up at?
I need to be out of here by 13:40, so about 25 minutes.
We talk really fast. Okay, thank you, everyone. I don't think Ace Tate needs an introduction. It's the eyewear brand that's become iconic because you guys do the design, but you also own the entire production and obviously also the sales process. And Contentful is a composable content platform. It's the leading content platform. And we help brands like Ace Tate to really create rich content that makes compelling buying experiences for their brand. So let's actually dive in to this straight away. Tell us a bit about your journey at Ace Tate.
Well, first of all, thank you for that wonderful intro. So I founded Ace Tate about 9.5 years ago now. Started as very much an online-only brand with the idea to support that with little pop-ups here and there. And over time, we found out the retail model works very well for us. So we've been opening stores across Europe. Today, we're at 84 stores, 4 major countries. So Netherlands, Germany being our biggest market, Belgium and the UK being our major growth markets. We have about 100 people here at the office in Amsterdam and preparing for a next phase of growth.
Exciting. So when was the moment that you actually realized we need to go outside of the Netherlands, we need to go into other markets? What was that moment?
I guess it's a little bit of my Napoleon syndrome baked into the company. I think as a Dutch company, Dutch market seems fairly small, and we always had our sights on a more international audience. We've always tried to find a tone of voice that works for multiple countries. So we launched a website in Dutch and also in English, and over time rapidly added German to that. So I think as a Dutch company, I think you're used to a very small home market, so we've always thought of the business as an international business.
Okay, that makes sense. So Ace Tate is all about the brand and the customer experience. So when you took your brand to other markets, how did you build your brand in those other markets? What did you watch out for?
It was a bit of trial and error. I think at first we thought that we could use kind of the very same tone of voice, very same proposition in every market. But over time we've learned that there are difference between market and differences between customers. I think you will know that a German customer views a product, in particular a difficult product like eyewear, like prescription eyewear, very different than a Dutch or a UK customer. So over time we've really tried to, I think, to really play to that in terms of copy, but also the way we explain things. Maybe a British person will be more inclined to go after the fashion proposition, where a German person really wants to know what is the product made of, what's the quality level, what are decisions made in the design process, etc., etc. So we try to, I think, to highlight those different elements of the product to different markets.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you see any difference, because you touched on basically how you started to engage with the customers? Do you see any differences between the online and the offline world when you engage with your customers in the different regions?
I guess again, for us, eyewear is a difficult product.
Yeah.
It's difficult to try on. People don't know their size. It's a very personal product, has a prescription element to it. So I don't think we see, in that sense, vast differences between markets. We see big difference between new and returning customers. So we really try to build the flow in that way to accommodate new customers or existing customers.
Okay. And have you expected that? I mean, did you expect it would be so different?
To be honest, strangely enough, I didn't.
Okay.
But that's maybe because I'm an idiot or too enthusiastic. But I think over time we really learned that by butting our heads a couple of times, that we really need to separate that flow.
Okay, And do you have different challenges now that you kind of go on that next growth journey versus European markets and the US market? Because I know you guys are also expanding there. Do you see an additional layer of complexity with that?
Well, again, with a physical product that's customized for a large part of our audience, right? Prescription and frame. I would see going overseas, and I mean intercontinental, would be an additional layer of complexity. So I don't think that's the focus for the next 1 or 2 years. But again, referring to a healthy Napoleon syndrome, I would love to play in a very big market. So it's definitely something that we're always debating. But for now, there's a lot of ground to cover still in Europe. We see a lot of growth in our existing markets, so that will be the focus for the foreseeable future.
Okay. I love the healthy Napoleon syndrome. I'm so going to copy and paste that.
Well, you're short like me, you need something, right?
It's always tricky because I'm German, so when we talk about healthy Napoleon syndrome, it never goes down that well.
I won't comment.
No comment. One of the things that I'm curious about, what advice would you share to the audience here when thinking about expanding their brand? What kind of mistakes have you made that you can share that these folks here don't need to replicate?
I was going to be very difficult, very careful giving advice, because every company is different, every phase is different. The world today looks very different than when we started. But I think we scaled pretty rapidly to a vast number of markets. So we're active in 10 markets in Europe with actual physical stores. And the idea was always we plant seeds everywhere, so every market comes to maturity at a different point, and we can scale different markets at different times. And although on paper that's a lovely story, what that means is that you add a lot of complexity for a relatively small and inexperienced team very early on in the life cycle of a business. So if I would do it again, I would probably focus on 1, maybe 2 markets, get to a certain point of maturity, and that point of maturity differs for every company, obviously, and only then roll out to new markets. And I think right now we're in the lucky position that we have enough ground to cover in a multitude of markets. So there's an upside to it, but it's not the easy route, let's put it that way. And it's very capital intensive, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So what's ahead for Ace Tate? Is there anything you can share?
Yeah, obviously for us right now, we understand the model, we understand the customer, we know which channels work for us. Funny enough, I'm at an e-com conference, but for us retail works very well. So for us, it's scaling that. It's opening a ton of stores. It's doing that supported by the same and a very solid back end. And I would say for me, the focus are very much on the brand. So where do you go as a brand? How do you keep a brand fresh? How to keep a brand interesting over time? And that's a continuous challenge. And I must say that during COVID, for instance, we had different priorities, so I feel the brand has suffered a bit. So that's very much something I'm jumping in right now to make sure that gets new freshness.
Okay, great. I know we wanted to open up for a Q&A, so, and you're tight on time, so we're going to wrap this up, and I'm just going to...
I have a couple of minutes. I need to take my daughter to the hospital, so that's why I'm a bit pressed on time. But I'm more than happy to take a couple of questions if they're there.
Exactly. Please.
Yeah, above here. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. Sufyan, Mason Garments. Hi. Could you tell us a bit more about the challenges that come with combining the physical retail spaces with e-commerce? Were there any specific challenges that you had in those?
Well, for us, particularly when we started out, that was 2013, right? There was Shopify was not where it is today, so there was a lot of complexity for us with a customizable product and delivering that through a Shopify platform, so that immediately eliminated that for us. I think these days it's very much, again, speaking from Ace Tate's perspective, how do you make something that is fairly easy online or from the comfort of your phone on your own time frame? How do you make a purchase like that work easily and seamlessly in a store? So I guess that would be our main challenge. And what I'm referring to, for instance, is a prescription eyewear product is pretty complex to get into a system and to get all the values in there. And that takes a fuck ton of time. And on a Saturday, when it's very busy, there are like lines of people waiting to pay. That would be one of our key issues, I'd say.
Thank you.
I hope that answers your question.
Hi. So Ace Tate has got sort of a ubiquitous sense to it at this point, at least being in Amsterdam. How have you translated that from the store experience when you walk into a store to your online experience, and then being able to translate that across your communication channels and across different nations?
I guess for us it's always trying to stick to the tone of voice. So our language we use in the stores is very similar to the language we use online. And we also try to build the store flow in the similar way the online flow would work. And that's obviously not easy to do. But for instance, when browsing, we use sizes, we use men, women, which is not something you regularly see in an optical store. So we tried to take some of those online learnings and apply those in the store. And I'm not saying by any means that it's a seamless journey yet, but that's something we're continuously working on.
You talk a lot about the brand and the importance of the brand. So what would you say got you to become a love brand? Is it the product or the narrative? How would you summarize it?
Well, assuming that I'm not sure if I'm in a position to comment on that, but what I think is when you build a brand, for us it's always been about the values. So we try to stick to our own values and I think the values of our customer and try to come up with things that we find interesting and apply those to the brands in the collabs we do, the events we do. We, at a certain point, like I started out not being on the sustainability train by any stretch of the imagination. I thought it was like basically tree hard bullshit. And then I read Yvonne Chouinard's memoir, Let My People Go Surfing, by the Patagonia founder, and I thought, hey, we need to do something. And that came from a genuine place. So we tried to genuinely be a leader there in the field with our brand. So I think it's maybe a bit of a stupid answer, but I think sticking true to the values of the team and trying to translate as much as possible to the consumer helps in building that trust and that love.
Thank you.
Do you have sales points in Germany? And if so, did you start it with physical stores or your online store?
Yeah, Germany is our biggest market, also in terms of retail. We started out with the site supported by pop-ups. We did a pop-up tour through Germany, and now obviously it's a very retail dominant market.
But did you notice an increase on your online store while opening the pop-ups in Germany?
So what we typically see is in the local area where we open a store, we see the online sales dropping at first, and then they build up over time, and then they exceed.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Hi. As an eyewear brand, I would imagine you're looking to offer something that lasts. So I was wondering what your take would be as a brand in making sure that you can offer more products, for instance, to clients. So still have a business pipeline. And in assuring that, would you consider diversification as an option, or would you rather stick to what you're doing very well already and keep it there?
That's a very interesting question. It's an ongoing debate. It's always something we kick around the management team quite regularly. But I'd say we've built our company and the customer experience very much tailored to our product. And getting that right is not easy, and that's a continuous journey. So I wouldn't say never, but I don't think we're there yet as a business to add other products to our assortment. And also, I don't know if a customer, to be very frank, I don't know if a customer would be interested to buy other things from us. Like, we are not a Pada, which can put its logo on a lot of different things and it be valid. For us, I think we are an eyewear brand, and I wouldn't see that changing in the foreseeable future. And I'm probably shooting myself in the foot here, but I do think that's the honest answer.
Hi, I was wondering, because you mentioned that the book of the Patagonia founder inspired you to be more sustainable.
Yep.
How does sustainability influence your decision making also when expanding to new markets?
Yeah, that's a super good question. That's a continuous struggle. because ultimately you put more product in the market, and that's obviously something that doesn't help the environment. I think for me, the thing that clicked when I read Chouinard's book is he had the same issue, obviously. But what they at a certain point said with Patagonia is, let's try to be a better alternative for those customers. So those customers are going to buy eyewear anyway, because they're blind. So they better buy from us, because we are always trying to use, we're always at the forefront of the best technologies out there, the best materials out there. So again, we try to solve that problem through scale. So actually, if we get bigger, we might help the environment. Which there's obviously holes to poke in that. I recognize that.
Hi, Peter from Mason Garments. I had a question regarding your remark about Pada putting its name on other products. Since we are entering a new stage of the Web 3.0 and also digitalization with eyewear, etc., is that something that you thought about with your company as well in the near future?
Yes, that's definitely something I find very interesting, and it's also something we are behind the scenes having the first conversation about. But it's very, very early days.
Thank you very much.
And please don't get my pottery remark wrong. I mean, that's an amazing brand. I don't think we're even in the same ballpark as they are. And that's why they're able to do that, and we're not.
Thank you very much.
Sketch. Yeah, hi.
Hi.
A question. We noticed that actually the eyewear industry is getting much more concentrated with big groups becoming bigger, both at retail and production level. Do you see it as a threat or as an opportunity, or how you deal with it?
It's obviously, I think, for the consumer, ultimately not the best thing, because in the eyewear industry, you see a couple of the really, really big companies consolidating, which obviously means limited consumer choice and a lot of vertical integration control within one business. And I actually think for us, ultimately, it's a good thing. But in our space, like D2C, direct-to-consumer eyewear to the under 40 category, is getting pretty crowded as well. So that's something I'm, to be honest, more focused on, to see how do we play in that competitive market environment right now. Less than the big players.
Earlier you were talking about if you could go back, you would go like one market at a time. And you said until you got to a point of maturity in that market, how do you identify point of maturity?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think we are like maturity anywhere, but at a certain version of scale, I think. And for us, that means if we figured out how to reach the customer in that local market, and can we get our retail and online economics to work? And then we know we can roll out, right?
Cool, thanks.
Great, and be mindful of the time. I think we have time for one more question, and then we would wrap it up. So, anyone? Yeah.
And so at the price point that you guys are working at, do you find you're getting a lot more repeat customers? Because glasses in general tends to be you buy a frame and you wait till you wear it out. But at the price point and how you guys been marketing yourself, it's far more accessible. So how has that been for your company?
Yeah, maybe to start with the insight. So the idea was, why do I have like 30 pairs of sneakers and only one pair of glasses I would wear in any occasion, right? If you go to the bank for a serious conversation or go to a club. And that's what we try to achieve by making it more accessible. And what we do see is that our customer returns more than the industry standard, but I still feel it's a fairly low number and there's a lot of ground to cover there.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's been great. Good luck with